Part 38. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 371. The jade bracelet was a New Year's gift that Murong Cheng bought for Bai Wei. Although Bai Wei is confused, she is very knowledgeable in jadeite, so Murong Cheng pays more attention when buying jadeite, not buying top-notch ones, so as not to make her mother suspicious, and chooses around 70,000 to 80,000 yuan, as long as she can express her heart. I felt that Murong Cheng was very careful, which she was completely inferior to. It seemed that it was like this in the past. During the New Year's and festivals, gifts were prepared by Muzening. She never worried about it, and the two even had conflicts over this. It's really because she lived with her grandmother since she was a child, and she doesn't like to walk around with relatives, and she doesn't have the habit of doing so. Seeing that Murong Cheng bought a bracelet for Bai Wei, I also wanted to buy something for Bai Wei, so she walked around the mall and couldn't make up her mind. I is still a student. If she spends too much money on gifts, Bai Wei might be unhappy. It can't be too expensive, but also express your heart. I found it very difficult. Buy a lady's watch when passing by the watch store, Murong Cheng suggested. Watches are very expensive. I was in a dilemma. A better Swiss watch cost more than 100,000 yuan. Murong Cheng pulled her in. You're not short of money. She is indeed not short of money. Bai Wei paid the tuition fee. The money stolen from Murong Xian has been in the bank account, and she still receives income from the company every month. My mother will be upset if a girl spends a lot of money. I murmured, still hesitating. Murong Cheng said in a disgusted tone, if you keep lingering like this, you may not be able to buy gifts at dawn. I pouted. The two picked out the watch to be given to Bai Wei, and before leaving, Murong Cheng asked the clerk to wrap up the other watch as well. I looked at it curiously, and thought that the style was very unique, suitable for young women. Who would it be for? Murong Cheng seemed to see what she was thinking, and said, this is for Huolin. I was stunned for a moment before realizing that the Huolin he was referring to was his fiancée. She thought to herself, isn't it just a cooperative relationship? Why do you need to prepare New Year's gifts? But she couldn't ask this question. Once she asked, she would feel jealous. I didn't want Murong Cheng to misunderstand her. After the Chinese New Year, Huolin will go back to China and have a meal together. Murong Cheng said, she has always wanted to see you. I. But I don't want to see her. I'm not going. I turned her face away. What is this? In what capacity was she going to meet his fiancée? Isn't the current situation embarrassing enough for her? I felt that Murong Cheng was cruel and insisted on putting an embarrassing and shameful relationship on the table openly. When we meet, you give her the watch. Murong Cheng ignored her resistance. I's face was sullen and she didn't speak. The good mood of shopping disappeared in an instant. The feeling and atmosphere of a date are very subtle things, and may disappear because of the other party's actions, eyes, or unconscious words. When she first went out, although she was awkward, she was still in a good mood. Going home now, she sat in the car without saying a word, depressed. I felt that the term sugar-coated cannonballs was very suitable to describe her situation. No matter how sweet the sugar coating was, the cannonballs would still hurt her body. 2 days later, it was the day we agreed to go to Doshui village. I and her friends were waiting at the entrance of the train station. The crowd was crowded. They didn't wait for Zhang Ci, but they waited for Chu Mingjun, who was in a hurry. Miss Sister, Chu Mingjun said with a mournful face when he saw I, as if he had found support, cousin has been arrested. I was surprised, and quickly asked, please explain clearly, how did Zhang Ci get arrested? What did she do? Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 372. Chu Mingjun told Mu Zi that Zhang Ci was reported for investigating the case without authorization, and now he is undergoing procedural inquiry and investigation, and may be punished. It is an exaggeration to say that he was arrested, but Zhang Ci's freedom is indeed restricted because of this, and he cannot leave Qingjiang City in the short term. But how could Zhang Ci be reported? Although it is true that the police cannot investigate at will without the authority of the prosecutor, but in fact, in actual operations, if the police find suspicious things, they do not need to report everything to the prosecutor. In order to work more efficiently, some in-depth investigations are not serious. Prosecutors will turn a blind eye to the violations. Chu Mingjun said depressedly, the prosecutor in charge of the case in Doshui village is too ruthless. He insisted that it was accidental food poisoning, and thought that my cousin's private investigation was deliberately against him. The prosecutor is about to retire, so he is afraid that if something goes wrong before retirement, it will not look good. Mu Zi thought for a while, and said to Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuang Jie who were beside her, find a coffee shop and wait for me first. Xiaoming and I will go to the police station and be back soon. Don't, Zhuang Jie said, let's go and have a look, maybe we can help. Mu Zi hesitated, but it's really inappropriate to just leave people alone. Okay then, let's go together. The three girls followed Chu Mingjun to the police station by car. As soon as Zhuang Jie got into the car, she called her mother and said bluntly, Mom, do you know anyone at the police station? My classmate's friend is in trouble. Zhuang's mother was taken aback, thinking that her daughter had met some bad student. She hurriedly asked, what kind of classmate are you? Zhuang Jie explained again, and Zhuang's mother breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, so that's the case, please tell Mu Zi not to worry, I will help you inquire later. After hanging up the phone, Gu Liang, who was reading the design draft, raised his head and asked her, what happened to Mu Zi? Zhuang's mother is a cooperative relationship with Gu's group. She designs dresses for artists under Gu's group. The design draft prepared this time is mainly used for the annual Yingting Entertainment Star Feast. It is very important to the group, so she specially let young Master Gu has seen it himself. Zhuang's mother heard Gu Liang's tone, she seemed to know Mu Zi, so she didn't hide anything and told him everything. Speaking of which, this police officer Zhang is considered a celebrity. He has handled many major cases for us in Xinjiang, but I didn't expect to stumble in this case, Zhuang's mother said with emotion. Gu Liang thought for a moment, then made a phone call, and said to the person on the other end, go to the police station yourself and help Miss Mu with something. Zhuang's mother was dumbfounded, seeing Gu Liang continue to explain a few words. She was always thinking about Mu Zi. Shocked in her heart, she thought to herself, what is the origin of this Mu Zi, that he can be favored by two families at the same time? After Gu Liang finished talking on the phone, he noticed the shock on her face and said with a smile, Ms. Shen doesn't think I'm troublesome, does she? Zhuang's mother's name is Shenzin Ru, and Gu Liang calls her Ms. Shen. She shook her head quickly, and said with a smile, why? Young Master Gu can say 100 words to me. With your help, I won't waste my words in vain. I will call Jia Jia to thank you some other day. Jia Jia is very talented. There will be many people from the fashion industry on the day of the feast. You might as well bring her here to have fun and study. Gu Liang paused, then continued, bring a few more classmates, so as not to the little girl is uncomfortable. Zhuang's mother understood Gu Liang's hint. Gu Shao wanted to use Zhuang Jia's name to invite Mu Zi. She was even more astonished, which woman Gu Shao wanted, did he need to be so careful? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 373. To put it bluntly, with Gu Liang's status, if he wants a woman, just make a phone call, and the other party will just jump over happily. Even if Mu Ziyi is unwilling, the people in Mu Ziyi's family will tie her up neatly and send her to Gu Liang respectfully. The more cautious a man's attitude towards a woman, the more it shows the weight of this woman in his heart. Gu Liang is willing to simmer slowly, rather than call immediately. This is actually a respect for Mu Ziyi. Zhuang's mother couldn't help sighing when she thought of the lovely girl who was as soft and delicate as a doll she had only seen once at the engagement banquet that day. At the same time, it is a blessing or a curse to be favored by two prominent men from two families. Mu Ziyi and his friends hurried to the police station, and happened to meet Tongwu at the gate of the police station. The chief of the police station greeted him in person, shook hands with Tongwu with a smile on his face, and greeted him, "Why did Guanxi come here in person? If you call and explain such a small matter, I will take care of it for you." "Don't be careless about loyalty," Tong Guanxi replied with a smile. "Tongwu is in charge of the Gu family, who can he be loyal to?" The implication is that young Master Gu wants to protect Zhang Xi. The director smiled, but his heart was full of turmoil, secretly thinking that this Zhang Xi actually had something to do with Gu Shao. "It's actually a trivial matter," the director explained to Tongwu. "Officer Zhang is a man with a rigorous work attitude. If there are any clues, he can't do it unless he investigates clearly. The punishment this time is mainly from the procuratorate, too serious." "It's chilling to be punished for such a good police officer," Tongwu said kindly. "I think the punishment will be waived. Let Officer Zhang pay more attention next time. Why make such a big fuss? What do you say, is not it?" The director hurriedly nodded. "Yes, that's exactly the reason." The director took out the cigarette case, lit a cigarette for Tongwu, and said, "But the procuratorate and our police station are two different institutions, and we can't control the affairs on the other side. Officer Zhang will definitely not be able to investigate this case again. It has been classified as an accident." "It's troublesome for the director," Tongwu complimented him. Mu Ziyi and his group came over to say hello to Tongwu. "Guard Tong," Mu Ziyi heard clearly just now that Tongwu helped her a lot. "Thank you so much," she said gratefully. Seeing Mu Ziyi, Tongwu showed a modest smile on his face. "Ms. Mu, next time you have difficulties, you might as well tell young Master Gu. If we didn't hear the news from Ms. Shen, we wouldn't know you were in trouble." Mu Ziyi and Zhuangjie looked at each other with astonishment on their faces. None of them expected that this incident would alarm Gu Shao. "I don't have the nerve to bother young Master Gu about such a trivial matter." Mu Ziyi felt that she owed him a favor again, and said, "You have worked hard today, and I will definitely come to thank you another day." "Miss Mu is too polite." Tongwu smiled. He finished his work, greeted Mu Ziyi and left. The director personally took them to see Zhang Xi. Zhang Xi was found to be negligent at work. Not only was he suspended from all work, but he was also subjected to severe interrogation by supervisory department personnel. This kind of interrogation was not corporal punishment, but mentally tortured, and he had to write a review report afterwards. Zhang Xi walked out of the office where he was being questioned, with a very ugly expression on his face. "Xiao Xi, it's good to investigate the case attentively, but there must be work procedures. Be careful next time." The director, who is over 50 years old, looked gentle and patted Zhang Xi's shoulder lightly. "You have been wronged, go back and rest for 2 days, relax and relax." Zhang Xi replied with a straight face, "Thank you, director." Zhang Xi left the police station with Mu Ziyi and his group. She told Mu Ziyi, "The procuratorate doesn't allow me to handle this case. I can't go to Doshui village with you." Mu Ziyi asked her, "Although it's wrong to investigate the case privately, it's not like it hasn't happened in the past. Why are you being held accountable this time? Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 374. Mentioning this matter, Zhang Ci became even more upset, and explained, the father of the deceased went to the procuratorate, saying that his son was killed by someone, and now the family of the deceased wants to investigate the prosecutor's negligence in his work. I just happened to be investigating this matter again. The prosecutor felt that I was in collusion with the family of the deceased, so of course they took me under the knife. Since it was killed by someone, it should be investigated carefully. Zhuang Jie couldn't help but interjected. Chu Mingjun next to him glanced at the upset cousin, and explained to Zhuang Jie in a low voice, legal truth is composed of superficial evidence, which does not mean objective truth. According to the investigation results of the procuratorate, this case it should be an accidental poisoning, so, the family members of the deceased will be futile unless new evidence emerges. Mu Zi nodded slightly when she heard the words, you said that the prosecutor is about to retire, he must not be happy that there will be changes after the case is finalized, otherwise the work report will not look good. Then what should we do? Zhang Xinyuan looked at everyone hesitantly, are we still going today? Go. I've already bought the train tickets. Zhuang Jie feared that Zhang Xinyuan would retreat, even if we don't investigate the case, let's go play for a while. I've wanted to go to the ghost village for a long time. Mu Zi smiled and said, that's right, let's just go and have fun. Zhang Ci frowned, hesitated to speak, and finally patted Mu Zi on the shoulder, saying, be careful, that place is indeed a bit evil. Mu Zi, Zhuang Jie, and Zhang Xinyuan set off for Doshui village as originally planned, but their train had already left, and the next train was temporarily changed. When they arrived at the station, they unexpectedly saw Wang Zilong sitting on the suitcase waiting for them at the exit. You are too slow, Wang Zilong said, I have been waiting for almost 2 hours. Mu Zi was taken aback, thinking that Wang Zilong was sent by Murong Chen to monitor her, but at this moment she heard Zhuang Jie faltering, this place is haunted, find a boy here, be safe. It turned out that Zhuang Jie made an appointment. Mu Zi and Zhang Xinyuan looked at each other, both holding back their smiles. Zhuang Jie couldn't help but blush, and said forcefully, how can we travel without a man? If we 3 weak girls meet rogue thieves, we don't know the place here, how helpless. Mu Zi couldn't hold back any longer, and burst out laughing. Embarrassed, Zhuang Jie dragged her luggage and hurried forward, let's go find a hotel. Because of the rumors of being haunted, Doshui village has gradually become a tourist attraction, so there are many hotels, all of which are of good quality and have local characteristics. Now is the off-season and there are few tourists. They can easily find a good hotel. It is an old house with 3 entrances and 3 exits. The house is old, like a house that only rich landlords could afford in the old days. A foreign businessman with a sense of business bought the house, repaired it, and turned it into a characteristic homestay. There is a dry well in the yard, which is very eye-catching. The waiter in the hotel introduced, it is said that in the Qing dynasty, there lived a rich family here. The master of this family had a concubine who used to be an opera singer and often sang operas for the master. The wife was very jealous of this concubine. Once while the master was out to do business, the wife asked the servants to throw the concubine into the well, and from now on, every night, you can hear the faint and complaining voice of the woman singing opera. Zhang Xinyuan heard this, and hugged Mu Zi's arm tightly, this place is too scary, let's change to another one. Zhuang Jie was also a little trembling, but she was more courageous than Zhang Xinyuan, and persuaded, just stay here, the hotel next door is even more terrifying, there is a hemp rope hanging from the crooked neck tree in the yard, it is said that it used to hang people have died. Wang Zilong nodded when he heard the words, anyway, they are all ghosts. Let's choose a beautiful concubine who can make my wife jealous. Even if I become a ghost, I should be a sexy ghost. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 375. Zhuangjia glanced at him, vulgar. Aren't you vulgar? Wang Zilong glared at her. Then you go live next door, sleep at night and watch out for the hanging ghost to set your neck. Stop arguing. Zhang Xinyuan looked around nervously, and asked in a low voice, is there any hotel that is not haunted? This is the characteristic of Doshui village. Wang Zilong took out the tourist brochure and flipped through it. Every hotel here has rumors of being haunted. Even if there is no such thing, they will make up one, otherwise there will be no such atmosphere. The waiter who led them here also laughed. The tourists in Doshui village come here for ghosts. Wherever there are supernatural events, they gather there. If there are no ghosts, who would be willing to come to this remote place? Zhang Xinyuan opened his eyes wide and asked, are there really ghosts? The waiter smiled mysteriously and did not answer. This is the industry rule. If you say there is a ghost, the returning guests will question you if you don't see the ghost, but if you say there is no ghost, won't you let the guests down? So the best way is to be silent, leaving the guests in suspense. Zhang Xinyuan was frightened by the waiter's weird smile, and she became even more nervous. They originally planned to book 4 single rooms, but Zhang Xinyuan was really scared, and although Zhuangjia didn't show it on the face, she was actually a little uneasy, so they changed to book 2 rooms, 1 family room and 1 single room. The waiter was not surprised by this, and arranged for them with a smile, and provided white candles and matches for free. Wang Zilong saw it and asked, will there be a power outage here? The waiter just smiled and left. What are you doing? It's so mysterious. Wang Zilong rubbed the back of his head, feeling baffled. But Muzi understood, and couldn't help laughing and said, this is not for preparing for a power outage, it is for playing with the pen fairy and the dish fairy. Zhuangjia excitedly said, shall we play at night? Zhang Xinyuan's face turned pale, I don't want to play. You can play. Zhuangjia laughed again, actually, I don't dare to play. I'm just talking. Several people talked and laughed, and each packed their luggage. Muzi first opened the slanted bag on her body, and she lifted a black mass out of the bag and put it on the table. Zhang Xinyuan let out a soft yeah and said, Zizi, did you bring your starling too? Zhuangjia turned her head to look at the words, and was also amazed, how did you pass the security check? It hasn't passed the security check. Muzi smiled and patted Xiao's head. When we entered the station, it had already flown to the train to wait for me. I just asked it to fly in before the train departed. This bird has become a spirit. It's too smart. Everyone was surprised, but Muzi opened the window and let the bird out. Muzi stood by the windowsill and patted her black wings, and immediately flew away without a trace. Hey! Will it come back after flying away? Zhuangjia jumped to the window and looked up. Except for the gorgeous sky covered by the sunset, there was no shadow. Muzi smiled and said, I was suffocated on the train, now I just let it relax, it's fine, it won't fly too far. Zhang Xinyuan also echoed, Zizi's starling is very spiritual, and he won't lose it. Wang Zilong couldn't stand the chattering of the girls, so he urged, after packing your luggage, go to dinner quickly, go early and return early, or you will have to walk at night soon. Hearing this, Muzi seemed to think of something, picked up her phone and looked, go to Yangji Farm restaurant. Several people looked at her together, why, did you check the travel guide? Is that delicious? Muzi shook his head, and said frankly, didn't the 3 college students who died have food poisoning? They had dinner at Yangji Farm restaurant that night. Everyone. Still let people have a good meal. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 376. A group of people went to Yangji Farm restaurant. It is the low season for tourism and there are not many people in the restaurant. The dishes are very common farm dishes, and the taste is very ordinary. There is only one fish soup that is particularly delicious. It can be seen that the only characteristic of Doshui village is haunted. The guests at the next table were chatting, talking about the fish in Doshui village, and said, about 50 years ago, there was a flood here, and countless villagers were drowned, and their bodies were floating on the river. It was impossible to catch them all. In the end, I fed all the fish, and since then, the fish here have been extraordinarily delicious, because they grew up eating dead human flesh. Ugh! Zhuangjia almost vomited. I patted her on the back lightly. Eat with confidence, there was no flood here 50 years ago, it was all rumors. After she finished speaking, she thought to herself, those students have no problem eating and drinking, how could they get food poisoning? It's really weird. Zhang Xinyuan asked, what do the 3 dead people have in common? 5 college students, 3 men and 2 women, all of them happen to be men. I don't know if it's a coincidence, I replied. Is there anything that only boys eat and girls don't eat? Zhuangjia asked. Yes, Wang Zilong pointed to the menu, roasted kidneys, this stuff is generally not eaten by girls. Zhuangjia's stomach churned again after recovering. Stop talking, it's disgusting. I said, they ate hot pot at noon that day, and instant noodles made by themselves at night. The police have investigated everything, and there is nothing wrong with it. Going on, it involves some content of the autopsy. I was afraid that it would affect everyone's appetite, so she smiled and said, forget it, let's eat first, don't think about these things, and go shopping tomorrow. In fact, many scenic spots in Doshui village will also be open at night, but she sees Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuangjia's courage, forget it, it will be the same tomorrow. Several of them grew up with rich clothes and fine food, and the food in the scenic spot was not to their liking, so they could only satisfy their hunger, and return to the hotel after a hasty dinner. Although the hotel is in the shape of an ancient house, there are still modern bathroom facilities in the room, and hot water is available 24 hours a day. After a busy day, the girls wanted to take a good bath to relieve fatigue. I was not in a hurry, so she asked Zhang Xinyuan and Zhuangjia to take a bath first. While waiting, she heard the windows banging. It's Xiao who's back. Muzi opened the window, and the crow hopped in, like a child who had played wildly outside, wanted to eat and drink as soon as he came back, and then found a corner to lie down comfortably. She smelled a strange smell. She leaned closer to Xiao Ya and sniffed it carefully. It was a little sandalwood scent, and it seemed to be mixed with other things. Where did you go to play? I smiled and patted its head. Zhang Xinyuan thought Xiao was cute, so he came over and touched it, so cute. The crow felt comfortable being touched, his black bean-like eyes were squinted, almost unable to open them. At this moment, a shrill scream suddenly came from the bathroom. Ah! Muzi and Zhang Xinyuan were taken aback at the same time, and when they looked up again, they saw the bathroom door slammed wide open. Zhuangjia ran out in a mess wrapped in a bath towel. She shouted uncontrollably, there is a ghost. There is a ghost. Zhuangjia ran to the 2 of them, not caring about the wetness all over her body. She hugged Muzi's arm in shock, her eyes even had tears, showing that she was quite frightened. Jia, are you reading it wrong? Zhang Xinyuan asked. Although she was timid, she knew that this hotel was more of a gimmick than a real ghost. After taking a shower, I didn't find anything wrong in the bathroom. Zhuangjia cried, there really is a ghost. I saw it. There is a human face in the mirror. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 377. Zhuangjia's words were too horrifying. Muzi and Zhang Xinyuan were frightened, they looked at each other in blank dismay, and did not dare to enter the bathroom for a moment. That's all for Jang Hyun, but Muzi hasn't taken a bath yet, so should she wait until tomorrow morning to take a bath? It's ironic to say that she is a ghost herself. Why is she afraid of these things? Bang, bang, bang. The hasty knock on the door surprised the three girls in the room again. Hello. Are you all right? Wang Zilong's thick voice came from outside the door. Why did I seem to hear one of you calling? Jang Hyun hurriedly asked Zhuang Jia to get dressed. Several girls were in a hurry, and finally Muzi went to open the door for Wang Zilong. What's the situation, you guys? Wang Zilong raised his eyebrows and stood at the door in doubt. His eyes finally fell on Zhuang Jia with red eyes. Why are you still crying? Zhuang Jia said, there is a ghost in the bathroom. Jang Hyun looked at Zhuang Jia, then at Wang Zilong, and asked hesitantly, can you help us go in and have a look? Wang Zilong heard the words, but grinned. It shouldn't be, even if that concubine wants to peek at other people taking a bath, she should also peek at men. What's the matter with women? Muzi helped her forehead helplessly. Stop joking, Jia is really scared. Okay, I'll go and have a look. Wang Zilong walked slowly to the bathroom. Let me see, is that little concubine pretty? Ah! Wang Zilong in the bathroom screamed violently. The girls in the room were all stunned. Muzi was the first to react, ran forward a few steps, and asked loudly, what's wrong? Ha ha ha. Wang Zilong laughed and came out of the bathroom. Just kidding, there is nothing in the bathroom. You're sick. Zhuang Jia was so angry that she threw a pillow over her. She almost cried again just now. That's right, this joke is not funny at all. Jang Hyun was also very angry. Wang Zilong immediately begged for mercy. I was wrong, didn't I see that you were too nervous, and wanted to liven up the atmosphere? Is there such a lively atmosphere? Zhuang Jia was so angry that she cursed unscrupulously, you might as well bark like a dog. Who knows that Wang Zilong has no lower limit, he really barks twice, and asks with a smile, are the three ants satisfied? Zhuang Jia couldn't hold back, and laughed through tears. Who is your aunt? I hate it so much. Let's go. Wang Zilong walked to the door and was about to step out, but Zhuang Jia stopped him again. Any other orders? Wang Zilong asked helplessly. Zhuang Jia thought for a while, looked at Muzi and Jang Hyun, discussed and said, I used to hear people say that women are very yin, so they are easy to bump into unclean things. Why don't we keep him? He is a man. The yang energy is strong, and it may be able to exorcise evil spirits. Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Wang Zilong. I just bark like a dog twice, and you use me like dog blood. And exorcising evil spirits. What do you think? Zhuang Jia didn't quarrel with him this time, but looked at Muzi and Jang Hyun pitifully. What if I see it again later? What should I do? She is really scared. Jang Hyun hesitated. She was also a little scared. Maybe she would go to the bathroom at night, and having one more person in the room would make her feel more at ease, but living in the same room with a boy was a bit. Wang Zilong muttered, stop making trouble, I don't even have a place to sleep here. There are only 2 beds in this room. Zhuang Jia and Jang Hyun sleep on a double bed, and Muzi sleeps on the other single bed. Can't you just lay the floor? There is heating, so it won't freeze you. Zhuang Jia tried her best to keep him. Muzi thought for a moment, then said, Wang Zilong, why don't you just make do with it for the night? If there is nothing to do at night, you can go back to sleep in your own room tomorrow, okay? Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 378. Grandma has spoken. How dare Wang Zilong refuse to obey? He turned his head and went back to fetch bedding and pillows, spread them at the foot of the girls' beds, and fell asleep. It was silent late at night, and the night in Doshui village seemed no different from other places. Changing the place, I thought she would not be able to fall asleep, but Xiao's company seemed to be able to soothe her, and she soon fell asleep. I slept until midnight, but suddenly felt a strange feeling, indescribable, as if someone was staring at me. I frowned and turned over, thinking she was in a dream. Wang Zilong was also tossing and turning. After all, the floor is not as comfortable as the bed. Even if the floor is thick, the floor still feels hard and rough. He couldn't sleep well, wanted to drink a glass of water, opened his eyes, but vaguely saw a pair of small feet, white and thin, only the size of a palm. Wang Zilong thought to himself, "Hey, whose feet are these? They are really exquisite." This thought flashed, and suddenly a chill ran down his spine. No matter how small Zhuangjia's feet are, they can't be so small. This is clearly a child's foot. Where is the child in the room? Wang Zilong sat up in an instant, and let out a stern ah. Away. Ahh. What's the matter? What happened? What's the name? All the girls in the room were startled awake. I was the closest to the switch, reached out and flicked on the light. The room was brightly lit. Zhuangjia and Zhang Xinyuan hugged each other tremblingly at the head of the bed, while Wang Zilong's face was pale. He kicked off the quilt and stuck it to the corner of the wall, still gasping for breath in shock. Zhuangjia cried with a sad face, "Wang Zilong, you bastard! You want to scare us to death in the middle of the night." She thought Wang Zilong was playing a prank again. Wang Zilong is also wronged. He really didn't do it on purpose this time. He touched his face while panting, covered in cold sweat. Grass. Wang Zilong cursed in a low voice, "It's really crazy." I asked him, "What's wrong? What did you see?" Wang Zilong didn't answer. He looked for his mobile phone everywhere, and when he found it, he quickly dialed. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Wang Zhan was very nervous when he received a call, and asked, "What happened to my aunt?" He knew that Wang Zilong and I went on a trip together. Wang Zilong swallowed his saliva, looked up at I, and said dryly, "No. Grandma is fine." Wang Zhan immediately became ill, and yelled, "Little bastard! What are you calling? Do you know what time it is? I just fell asleep when you woke me up. Anyone who is woken up in the middle of the night will have a bad temper." Wang Zilong lowered his voice and said, "Uncle, our place is really haunted. You quickly send a dozen bodyguards to protect me, or my life will be lost. Do you want it? Why are you so crazy at night?" Wang Zhan was speechless. Wang Zilong begged bitterly, his voice was about to cry, "Uncle, I am the only seedling of our old Wang's family, you can't leave me alone. Damn! Think of me as a dead man. What are you alone? Won't I get married in the future? Will I not have another life? You should be so cool." Wang Zilong was about to cry, and wailed, "I really hit a ghost, uncle. I saw feet beside the bed just now, but when I looked up, there was nothing there. Uncle, you don't want your nephew to be killed by a ghost, do you? I haven't graduated yet. If I was killed by a ghost, and I went underground to meet my parents, I can't explain it." He kept his voice low, and Wang Zhan was annoyed by him, so he hung up the phone before he finished speaking. When the phone hung up, Wang Zilong looked up and saw the three girls in the room looking at him in surprise. "Wang Zilong, you said just now that you saw a pair of feet." Zhuangjia's voice trembled, frightened. Zhang Xinyuan didn't see it with his own eyes, and was also affected by the atmosphere, staring at Wang Zilong nervously. Wang Zilong didn't want to scare them, and he didn't want to look like a coward, so he turned his face away in embarrassment and said, "No. Maybe I misread it?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 379. The girls are full of disbelief. He clearly said everything on the phone just now who is pretending to be calm? At this time, there was a knock on the door suddenly. Bang, bang, bang. Zhuang Jia and Zhang Xinyuan got into the quilt in fright and covered their heads. Wang Zilong wanted to open the door to have a look, but he couldn't use his legs and feet. He was frightened just now, and now his legs are still a little weak. In the end, Muzi got up and put on a coat to open the door. After a while, Muzi came back and found that everyone in the room was looking at her. It's okay, they live next door. Muzi smiled helplessly. They heard the screams and came over to ask us if we had seen a ghost, and asked if we could change rooms, willing to double the rent. What kind of person is this? You don't hesitate to spend money to see ghosts, your heart is really strong. Zhuang Jia was not afraid when she heard that it was from the next door, and complained angrily. Zhang Xinyuan also had a rare sense of humor, and said with a smile, Wang Zilong, you have made money, and people may not be able to see ghosts even if they spend money. Wang Zilong smiled embarrassingly. Muzi yawned, and said, okay, let's all go to sleep. If the disturbance continues, someone will knock on the door again. Everyone went to sleep. Zhuang Jia felt terrified and said, leave a lamp. Finally, a wall lamp remained in the room. When sleeping, the light is slightly dazzling, but it is better than the darkness. Muzi opened a pair of bright black eyes, thinking quietly. 5 college students came to Doshui village to eat, drink and have fun all day, and then returned to the hotel to rest. They were killed by ghosts. Could it be that ghosts really killed people? This case is really incredible. Muzi doesn't believe that ghosts can kill people. She has been a ghost herself. It's not a good feeling. Her soul will be wiped out at any time, and her consciousness will also disappear from time to time, so she can't protect herself, so why harm others? Moreover, the forensic identification can't be wrong. There must be something in Doshui village that contains THC. In addition to 3 meals a day, what kind of food did those college students come into contact with? The next day was a sunny day, and the gloomy atmosphere of the ghost village seemed to be dispelled a lot under the sunshine. Probably because the weather was so good, Zhuang Jia and Zhang Xinyuan no longer felt anxious at night, and went out to play happily. There are many handicraft shops on the street, most of which are related to gods and ghosts, and there are also many objects for exorcism and townhouses. Wang Zilong pointed at a long knife and made a sharp gesture. How about this? If a ghost comes, I'll cut off its feet. Zhuang Jia laughed out loud, and said mockingly, at that time, you must be so frightened that you can't straighten your legs, and you still want to chop off their feet? Ha 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 ha. Just as Wang Zilong was about to get angry, there was a sudden commotion on the street, and the crowd rushed in one direction, accompanied by shouts one after another. The door is open, the door is open, the witch is open. Hurry up and take a seat, or it will be too late. Tourists wandering on the street went there one after another, flocking to it. Muzi asked Zhuang Jia, is this the witch you mentioned earlier? Zhuang Jia quickly nodded and said excitedly, yes, yes, it is her. It is said that fortune-telling is very effective. Moreover, the door is not opened for fortune-telling every day. The door only opens on the 7th, 17th, and 27th of each month. I didn't expect to catch up with her today, let's go too. The vendor on the side also smiled and said, when you come to Doshui village, how can you not meet the witch? If you miss today, you will have to wait another 10 days. Go quickly. If you are lucky, you may be able to get a number. Musa thought of the college students who had the accident and had their fortunes told by the sorceress, so she said, okay, let's go and have a look. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 380. When we arrived at the sorceress residence, I realized why the vendor said maybe I can be ranked. There is only one witch, but there are hundreds of people who want to tell their fortunes. Even if the sun goes down, it may not be their turn. Zhuangjia was very frustrated and said, "Let's go, there are so many people, today's fate must not be counted." I thought for a while and said, "Wait a while." After she finished speaking, she ran to the front of the line first, and came back after a while, saying, "Okay, now you can go in and tell your fortune." Everyone was shocked and asked her, "What's going on?" I explained with a smile, "I asked the person in the first place if I could give him 1,000 yuan to give up my seat, and he agreed." "Zizi, you are awesome," Zhuangjia was overjoyed, hugging her and wishing she could kiss her. A group of people squeezed to the first place from the back of the line, but the people in the back line were immediately dissatisfied. Even if they spent money to jump in line, they couldn't insert 4 people at once. Zhang Xinyuan came out of the team, waved his hands and said, "You go, anyway, I don't have anything to ask the witch." Wang Zilong has no interest in fortune-telling either. In the end, only Zhuangjia and I entered the witch's house. The sorceress lived in a house with blue tiles and white walls, like an ancient courtyard house. As soon as she entered the courtyard, she saw a huge old locust tree. Zhuangjia suppressed her excitement and whispered to I, "Look, locust trees are ghosts in trees, most people don't plant locust trees at home, they will attract ghosts." I glanced at her inexplicably, "My family just planted it." Zhuangjia choked. I looked at the surrounding environment, and always felt that the smell of incense in the air was very similar to the smell on Xiao's body last night. Bypassing the big locust tree, I walked a few steps forward to the door. Outside the threshold stood a large water tank with ghostly symbols, and beside it stood a little girl in a blue double-breasted padded jacket. The little girl was only 8 or 9 years old, she seemed to be wearing too little clothes, and her face was pale with cold. When I and Zhuangjia were about to enter the house, the little girl scooped up 2 bowls of water from the water tank and handed them to them. I thought, have those college students ever drank the water in the tank? She was about to drink, but Zhuangjia immediately stopped her, "This is not for drinking now, but for turning into talismans later." "Water from the talisman?" Feeling baffled, I followed Zhuangjia in with the bowl in her hand. It was sunny outside, but the inside of the main room was gloomy. There was a long table covered with red cloth in the middle, and an incense burner was placed on the table, surrounded by green smoke. An old lady with gray hair was sitting on this floor, in a hazy layer of smoke. Presumably, this is the legendary witch. Looking, fortune-telling, or asking questions, the sorceress squinted her eyes and asked them with a blank expression. "Ask something." Zhuangjia put the bowl in front of the sorceress, as if a little embarrassed, and asked the sorceress coyly, "Can you help me find out, the person I like, does he like me?" The sorceress did not speak, but knocked on the table. Zhuangjia understood, lowered her head to look through her wallet, and asked, "Can I swipe my card?" The witch took out a POS machine from under the table. I. It's quite up to date. After Zhuangjia swiped the card, I saw that the sorceress took out a piece of yellow talisman paper from a pile of yellow talisman paper pinned to her waist, put it on the table to write and draw, and then burned it with fire. She muttered something, and when it was about to burn out, she threw the burnt talisman paper into the bowl. The black ash melted into the water, and immediately shattered, some sank to the bottom of the water, and some floated on the water surface. The sorceress stared at it for a moment, as if she could see some kind of mystery. "The person you like, still doesn't know what you want, but he is very close to you after a long while," the sorceress said. Zhuangjia nodded vigorously, feeling that the sorcerer's words were accurate. The sorceress said again, Don't worry, little girl, good things take time, drink the talisman water, and your wishes will come true. Zhuangjiu respectfully said, thank you sorceress. Then he picked up the bowl and drank that bowl of water. Muzi stared blankly. At this moment, the sorceress looked over and said, what about you, do you tell fortunes or ask questions?